You don't even know my name, but today, you'll carry my heart back with you. Steph's voice cracked over the mic. The audience, a sea of sun-kissed island students in blue gowns, sat frozen, silent. Teacher stood at the back, unsure what was happening. This wasn't in the program. His name wasn't on any guest list. But here he was, Steph Curry, the NBA legend, standing barefoot on a dusty wooden stage in front of 50 stunned faces, holding a crumpled envelope in both hands like it was made of glass. I wasn't supposed to be here, he continued, glancing at the old basketball hoop that hung sideways behind the school's single building. But someone from this island, someone I never met, changed me in a way I didn't think was possible. He paused, holding up the envelope. It looked old, torn at the edges. The ink had bled into the paper from either time or tears. I get hundreds of letters. Most go to my team. Some I never see. But this one, Steph breathed in deeply. It found me when I was lost. He looked at the row of students in the front. Some shifted. One girl started crying quietly. No one blinked. I didn't know Alani. I didn't know her favorite song or what kind of shoes she wore. But I know this. She had more strength in her than I've ever had on any court. Gasps whispered across the crowd. A boy at the back whispered, "Did he say Alani?" Steph nodded like he'd heard it. She wrote to me, not asking for shoes, not asking to meet, just to say thank you. He unfolded the letter, but didn't read it. He didn't need to. The words had carved themselves into his chest. She told me that the day I missed 13 shots, the day the whole world joked about me, that was the day she decided not to give up. Silence. She had cancer. She knew she was going. But she said watching me keep smiling, keep pushing, helped her do the same. Steph's hands were trembling now. His voice softened. She said she didn't need me to reply, that just knowing someone like me existed gave her peace. He looked at the principal, who stood by the door, wiping her eyes. You kept your promise. You sent it after she was gone. He turned back to the students. That's why I'm here. Because this letter didn't come from a fan. It came from family. A slow breeze passed. Leaves rustled. A single paper decoration fell from the wall behind him and floated to the floor. Steph stepped back, tears on his cheeks. I'm not here to give a speech. I'm here to give her voice one more day. To let you all know, she mattered. She mattered so much. And with that, the stage, that old wooden platform, felt more powerful than any NBA arena ever had. Coach says I'll never play again, but I've made my peace with that. I just have one final play left. Steph's voice trembled as he opened the notebook, its edges frayed, corners bent, pages kissed by time. She wrote this, he whispered, weeks before she left. The students leaned in. She called it her final playbook. His eyes scanned the first page, and then he began reading. Dear whoever finds this, they say I won't make it past the summer. The doctors, even Coach, I can see it in their eyes, how they pause before using the word future. I get it. They're scared to tell me what I already know. But you know what? I'm not scared, because I've already won something no one can take. I gotta live on this island. I got to love. I gotta teach the little ones how to shoot under a sky that never needed lights. Asterisk. Steph closed the notebook for a moment. He looked out at the tiny rim nailed to the coconut tree, bent and rusted. That was her court, he said softly. No nets, no paint, just dirt and dreams. Dear Steph Curry, I don't know if you'll ever read this. That's okay. This letter isn't to meet you. It's just to thank you. You made it okay for me to fail, to fall, to smile anyway. There was this game where you missed everything. People laughed, but you smiled. You smiled. And that day I told myself, if he can keep going, maybe so can I. The students were crying now, tears tracing quiet paths down sun-warmed cheeks. One more, Steph whispered, flipping to the last page. This is my final promise. I'm giving this letter to Principal Tua. I told her not to send it till I'm gone. That's my last play, not a buzzer beater, not a half-court shot. Just this, a letter, a hope, that someone like you might know we exist out here. And maybe, just maybe you'll come one day. Steph paused. A tear landed on the page. She never asked for help, never asked for a visit. She just wanted her island to be seen. He held the notebook to his chest. And now it has. A soft wind passed through the palm trees. Somewhere in the back, a basketball hit the rim and missed. A little boy whispered, "She still plays here." "I know it." Steph nodded without turning. "She does." I didn't open it for weeks. I was scared I wouldn't be able to walk back onto the court again. Steph stood on that old island stage, the sea wind brushing through his curls as he looked down at the letter, now gently folded. His voice grew quiet, almost like he was confessing something he'd never told anyone before. I got Alani's letter during the darkest stretch of my career. I wasn't injured, but I was empty. Game after game, loss after loss, the world stopped cheering and started judging. And honestly, I started believing them. He stepped down from the mic and walked closer to the students, holding the letter in both hands like it still had weight, like it still carried her. This envelope arrived after a game where I scored just 11 points and missed everything I shot. I remember sitting alone in the locker room that night, staring at my hands, wondering if I'd lost my touch, or worse, if I'd lost myself. He looked down at the letter again. I didn't open it that night, or the next. It sat untouched in my bag for 3 weeks. Hotel room, 3:12 a.m., somewhere in Denver. He'd just taken a shower after another humiliating defeat. The headlines were brutal. Social media? Harsher. Washed up. Done. Smile all you want, you're finished. He saw the envelope again while digging for headphones. The ink on the front had smudged. Only the name remained. From Alani. Something inside him cracked. He tore it open, slowly, carefully, like it might fall apart if he rushed. "Dear Steph, you probably won't remember this game, but I will. You missed 13 shots. Everyone laughed. Everyone tweeted. But you smiled. You high-fived your teammates like nothing happened. You even waved to a kid in the crowd. That kid wasn't me, but it felt like you saw me anyway. I was in the hospital that day, trying to breathe through another round of chemo. But when I saw you smile after failing, I told myself, if he can do that, then I can do this." Steph wiped his eyes, standing now in front of the graduates. "You all cheer for our wins. But that girl, she saw something in my loss. She didn't need my highlight reel. She needed my worst night to feel stronger." He placed the letter on a nearby table like it belonged in a museum. That letter didn't lift my game. It saved my soul. A girl in the crowd covered her mouth, sobbing softly. Steph looked back at the basketball court in the distance. You think heroes wear jerseys and hold trophies. But sometimes they wear 4 tubes and write on hospital paper. He smiled through his tears. "She gave me back my why. There's an empty chair in the front row, and it belongs to the bravest graduate this school never had." Steph's voice cracked again, and this time, he didn't try to hide it. The chair was simple, wooden, just like the rest. But draped over its back was a white basketball jersey, her name stitched carefully in blue letters across the top. Alani. No number, just the name. Students turned to look at it. Some bowed their heads. Some didn't even try to hold the tears back anymore. Steph stood beside it, one hand resting gently on the seat. She wrote in her letter, "If I can't graduate, at least let my letter graduate." He paused. "Well, today she does." He turned toward Principal Tua, who stepped forward slowly, holding a rolled-up paper tied with a thin blue ribbon. A diploma, the same as every other student in the row. But this one carried more weight than any. Steph took it carefully, then knelt beside the chair. "I never met her, but I feel like I've known her my whole life." He placed the diploma gently on the seat. "And I want this island to know, she didn't just graduate. She changed the world." For a few seconds, no one moved. The sea wind blew through the trees, rustling the graduation caps, brushing over the kids' tear-streaked faces. Then Steph stood again, clearing his throat, trying to steady himself. "I promised myself I wouldn't come here empty-handed." From behind him, his team manager stepped up and handed him a small silver box. Steph opened it slowly. Inside was a tiny glass sculpture, a girl holding a basketball, looking up at the sky. "This is the first copy of the Alani Courage Award. Starting this year, we'll give it annually to a student anywhere in the world who shows the kind of strength that doesn't make headlines, but changes lives." The students clapped softly, wiping eyes between claps. Steph wasn't done. And one more thing. He turned to face the school building, the kids, the court in the back that barely stood straight. I've spoken to the league, to my foundation, to my family. This island is getting a new basketball court. Gasps. Applause. Hands flew to mouths. The teachers were crying now. A full court. Real flooring. Real hoops. Lights. Everything. And it'll be called. He turned back to the jersey. Alani Court. The crowd erupted. Some stood, clapping through tears. Some shouted her name. Her classmates, now graduates, held hands like they used to when they played pretend finals on that dusty patch behind the school. And next season, Steph added, you're all invited. Every single graduate, to watch a live NBA game. On me. Flights, hotels, everything. The kids screamed, some in disbelief, others laughing through sobs. Steph looked at the chair once more. Alani, you made it. People ask me, Steph, what's your biggest win? I used to say championships. Now I say this letter. Steph stood near the edge of the brand new court, sunlight pouring down over polished wood that sparkled like water. Painted in white across center court were two simple words. Alani Court. He wasn't in a jersey today, just jeans, a plain tee, and a blue cap. Beside him stood his two daughters, holding hands, looking out at the kids running drills under the palm trees. The court wasn't surrounded by stadium lights. There were no screaming fans or loud anthems. But something about it made Steph's heart beat heavier than any playoff final. This isn't just a court, he said softly to his daughters. This is a promise. One a little girl made and kept. The girls looked up at him, curious. Did you know her? Riley asked. Steph shook his head. No, but she knew me, better than most ever have. He pointed toward the empty chair, now placed near the sideline. The same one for graduation, jersey, still hanging. She saw me when I couldn't see myself. The children on the court were laughing, practicing bounce passes, trying to dribble without tripping over their own feet. It wasn't perfect basketball, but it was perfect joy. Steph smiled. From a far side of the court, a little girl, maybe 10 years old, picked up the ball. She looked around. Everyone had stopped. She wasn't part of the drill. She stood alone at the three-point line. Too far, but her eyes sparkled with something familiar. She looked at the rim, took one breath. Then she shot. The ball sailed awkwardly, too high, too flat, hit the rim hard. Bounced again, then dropped in. The court exploded with cheers. The kids ran to her, screaming. She stood frozen in shock, eyes wide, hands over her mouth like she couldn't believe it herself. Steph felt something rise in his throat. A lump he didn't fight this time. He leaned down to his daughter and whispered. She made it. She finally made her last shot. Later that evening, Steph sat on the wooden bench just outside the court. The sunset lit the sky in deep orange and soft purple. He pulled the now-worn letter from his pocket, corners bent, ink faded. Alani's words still visible, still loud. If I can't graduate, let my letter graduate. He smiled. You did more than that, kid. As the stars appeared one by one, a breeze passed through the court. The net swayed gently. Somewhere a ball bounced again. A new game had begun. And in that moment, Steph knew, her story didn't end with a funeral. It began with a letter. And now it would never stop. Not as long as one child dared to believe that their shot could go in.